Hi everyone, and welcome to the Basic Strokes Troubleshooting tutorial. So this video is going to discuss all the issues that you might be having with your basic strokes. It's not a how to do the basic strokes, it's a how to fix your basic strokes tutorial. So the first one that people have a problem with is the downstroke. Downstroke is usually pretty easy to do. It's just a light, thin upstroke like that. Okay. So the downstroke is a little bit trickier because you've got to go into a heavier pressure. What a lot of people are scared of is damaging their pen. So they tend to come down a little bit skinny like that. Or what they do is they keep the hand in the neutral position that you'd use for normal writing, which is the tripod position, tripod grip, and the hand in a sort of a neutral, easy to write with position. And you end up with a very, very skinny line like that. You actually can't achieve a thick stroke by keeping your nib pointed like that. You need the width of the nib coming down the side. So you need to allow the pen to turn in your hand and have it come down like that. So when I say to turn the pen, you need to keep it turned like this for brush lettering. So you're wanting to always have your thumb across the front of the pen like this. And then you're able to come down in a nice thick stroke like this. You're also able to do your thinner stroke a little bit more easily than if you're trying to do it this way. The overturn is the next one I'm going to be looking at, and the overturn is a combination of these two, and often what happens is people tend to go very, very fast and sharp with the overturn. They tend to go up and then they come down like this, or they tend to go too fast and it's a little bit misshapen. So when you're going too pointy, usually that's the result of not having enough space in the hand. So you need to have a nice flexible hand. What you're wanting to achieve is to have enough space that the pen can actually start, flip over at the top, and come down comfortably. You need to have that nice arc going on. If you don't have that and you start with your pen too close, or you're too cramped up and you're actually too tight on your pen, you end up with a very, very sharp, cramped looking letter. And what happens there is that you end up with letters looking like that. So your N's, your M's, your H's, all of those letters will end up with very, very cramped, pointy tops. So you're wanting to have a nice amount of space and flexibility in your hand, and then you can come up and then over nicely and down. People also tend to do the splits with these letters, so they come up and then they do that. And again, that's from being too tight and the pen being forced down in a direction that's not natural to the letter. So if you were to do an N and your N was doing that, it would look as if it's doing the splits. So what you're wanting is for your letter, your shape to start off nicely like that and come down beautifully and softly. The only way you can achieve that is to actually allow your hand to move the pen down nice and slowly and comfortably to the bottom. What you can do if you're really struggling to achieve that look, put a little dot on your page, a starting dot as well, and you start where the first pink dot is, come up, and then over, and you actually aim for that pink dot. Now it's bleeding into the into the green, but if you do that, you could use pencil as well. You'd end up with something to aim for, and your eye has a nice ending point for the pen. Okay, so the next one that we're going to do is the underturn. The underturn is a very, very tricky letter. It looks as if it should be a lot easier than it is, but in reality it's quite difficult because you're going from full pressure up into light pressure. So what happens, instead of having this, you end up with this or this. So usually that is the result of going too fast. If you come down too fast for the underturn, what happens? You come down in full pressure, full pressure, full pressure, and then you kind of remember, oops, need to get into lighter pressure, and then only there do you start going into light pressure. And you've ended up with this very, very, very thick, blobby bit at the bottom, or you've got the whole lot going too thick all the way up to the top. So what you want to do is go down in full pressure, 2/3 of the way, medium pressure for the bottom third, and then into the upstroke with the pen on its point. So you give the pen a chance to get back up onto its point and come out nice and thin. Quite difficult to achieve that nice thinness over there. A lot easier said than done. full pressure, medium, up into light pressure, and also go very slowly. If you go fast, there's absolutely no way that you can get that pen up onto its point. I can't even do it that, if I do it that fast. Then with a compound turn, you've pretty much got a combination of the problems from both of these. So you're going up thin and flipping down. People often tend to do this, or they come down like this in a sort of a zigzag, or obviously they come out too thick at the bottom. So again, flexible hand, you want to have a nice amount of space for your hand. So if you don't have flexibility within the hand, what happens is that your poor pen is so cramped up and so tight inside the hand, or so strangled, you end up with this happening. And then you end up with this little cramped up shape. Nice flexibility, thin on the up, beautiful thick downstroke, and a nice thin stroke coming out. Okay, up there. So start off a little bit extended and end comfortably. So if you're ending over here and it's comfortable, that means that you need to start a little bit in an extended position. So slightly extended, up, thick down, thin up, and you end comfortably instead of starting comfortably and ending up on top of your pen like that. So make sure that you've actually got space to move, and what you can do is always, before you start, always just double check that you can actually get all the way across there, then start your stroke. For the ascending and descending loops, often what happens is people don't give themselves enough space to do these longer shapes. So with these shorter ones, you've got a lot less need for movement across these little shapes, and these longer ones you actually have to get your hand all the way up to the top and all the way down to the bottom. So with the first one, the ascending loop, often what happens is people will start, go up, and then pull this way, or they'll come up and then flick like that. Both of those are not exactly ideal, especially when you're trying to do a letter like an L and you've got a curve at the bottom. So what you're wanting to do is have, again, a loose flexible hand, nice thin up. Make sure that you can again start and end comfortably. So what you can always do is get into a habit of double checking that before you start. Nice thin on the up, flip over, thick coming down. That slight arc, a lot of people say to me they can't achieve that and they wish they could actually get the curve of the letter. What you're wanting is a soft curve, not a great big curvy letter, just a very soft, light look to your letter. All you need to do is allow flexibility in the hand so that your pen actually has a chance to move out in that direction. So if you think of the direction of the pen, it's almost an arc. It has to move out this way. So you need to allow the pen to move, which means, again, flexibility in the hand. So thin on the up, and then I'm going to stop there. Think about flexibility. So as you flip over, your finger, middle finger, actually needs to be able to push the pen out. It's not a definite push. It's just more that the finger has the ability to actually move the pen out, coming out like that. If you're really struggling with that, what I would suggest you do, and this usually works quite well, exaggerate the curve. So come up and actually exaggerate curving around, which will look ugly and almost look like an E, but you're wanting to get the fingers used to going out there. So it's a case of building muscle memory, and you're actually allowing the pen to move around like that, getting these fingers used to working together and pushing out that way. Once you get the hang of that, then what will happen is you can start coming down in a little bit of a softer, lighter pattern, and you'll stop pulling the pen this way. If your thumb is too tight, you can imagine now, after talking about the arc, your thumb is forcing that pen back in that direction. So it makes sense then to loosen the thumb a bit, have flexibility within the hand, and actually allow the pen space to move. Then when you do a letter like an H, you've got a nice soft, lovely, comfortable look to your letter. For the descending loop, it's a little bit different, similar sort of problems, but a little bit different to the ascending one. You're starting off with a downward stroke and coming around into the curve. Often what happens is people go too heavy, and then they do a curve that looks a little bit square at the bottom. Or they come round and they don't lift the pen, and you end up with that. So neither of those are great. So what you're wanting is nice heavy pressure coming down, beautiful soft light curve as you come around. Again, go slowly. Most people go too fast when they do these shapes. So you're wanting to have a beautiful soft curve down into medium, round into light. Okay. And what you've achieved there is that curve over here. And you're starting from about there. So you come down from the top 2/3 of the way down and you start curving over here. So full pressure all the way down, medium pressure and into light at the bottom of the letter, and you're coming around for a beautiful soft look. So it's sort of the opposite to the ascending loop. With the ascending loop, you're coming up in light pressure, flipping over and into full pressure. It's always much easier to go from light pressure into full pressure, not quite as easy to go the other way because your pen is already on the page, the nib is nice and comfortable down on the page. Now you're asking the nib to get back up onto its point, not so easy. Okay, so just to do that one again, beautiful, soft, slow move down, medium pressure, light pressure, and around. And again, flexibility in the hand, make sure that you can go all the way around. If you're struggling with any of these and you only have a big pen and you can't work in a smaller size on the smaller sheets, just do a smaller shape. You can just do that. All we're doing here is we're building muscle memory. So you can always just do a smaller shape with your big pen. What that'll do is it'll allow the hand to get the shape right, and then you can always go a bit bigger. So the last stroke that I'm going to be doing in this tutorial is the oval, which is this one over here. And it's used for letters such as A, D, G, and Q, as well as O, C, and E. So the oval is one of the trickiest brush strokes to get right. Okay, so first of all, what you're looking for is a beautiful thin upstroke, a sweeping around downstroke, and a lovely upstroke over there. You're starting and finishing at the side. So it's about a 2 o'clock, 1 to 2 o'clock position over there. If you imagine a clock face, it's not starting at the top, okay? So that's one of the main mistakes that people make. They look at that shape, they see where the pink stripe is, and they still go and do this. And I think it comes from when we taught how to write, and we always do our circles from the top. Our O's always go around at the top. And a lot of people still do their A's starting at the top and coming around. So with the oval, what you're looking for is a smooth, rounded top, not this messy join over there. That is not correct. And the only way to overcome that is to start over here and let your pen actually sweep up and around, and then let it come back up into the thin position, starting and ending there. So I'll show you how to get your pen on its side. So for the side view, if you have a look at the nib of my pen, you can actually see by looking at the shadow just how little of the nib is on the page as I'm going up. So thin on the upstroke, all the way around, sweeping down. You can see how much of the nib is on the page, and then back up into light stroke as I'm going up there. So just to do that one more time, you've got light pressure, full pressure, medium pressure, and then back into light pressure as I go around for my upstroke. And starting and finishing over here, so that you've got the back of your letter, back of your join covered when you do your letter. So if you're doing the A, you would cover the back like that. The other important thing to note is that the angle of the pen coming in is a little bit different to when you're writing your other strokes. So for the other strokes, all of these along here, your pen is in this position, so you'd be able to come down in a nice thick downstroke or up in a thin upstroke. With your pen at this angle, you can achieve those strokes. However, when you're doing the oval, you're actually looking to move your pen almost into a normal position. So if you think of writing normally, you would have your pen kind of at this angle, pointing in that direction. For the other strokes and all the other letters, not A, D, G, and Q, the other letters, you'd have your pen in the same direction as the line that you're writing on. So for the oval, you're actually wanting your pen coming in at this angle. And what you can also do is pull your fingers a little bit towards you so that you can push the pen out into that oval move. So starting off here, pushing up for a nice thin stroke, you can see there, and sweeping around into the thicker stroke, and then up into the thin stroke coming up there. Okay, and then you're starting and ending in that position. The reason for that, again, as I've said, is to cover the join. You want it right over there, and if you're doing a letter like an A, you'd actually cover the back of your join with that downstroke. So for the oval, when people are getting it wrong and they're going around too fast, what they're doing is sweeping around like that. Or they're coming around too rounded and ending up with a proper O. Remember, this is an oval, so you're actually looking for an oval shape in the middle of your stroke. And the oval shape should look like this in the middle. It's at a little bit of a slant, so if you are writing fairly upright, that's about the right angle. If you do write at a slant, then you can turn your oval a little bit to the side, and then obviously all the parts that you add on to make your A, D, G, and Q, you would do at a slight angle. So that is the oval. It will take a lot of practice. I do prefer to teach that one in person, but if you're not able to come to a workshop, then you can probably pick it up from this tutorial. You do need a lot of practice for this one, so please don't get disheartened and keep practicing and keep just remembering things like letting the pen sweep in, letting it sweep around, and letting it get back up onto its point as it comes around. And then you should have success after a while. After many, many weeks of practicing. Just kidding. Hopefully this video helped you, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.